Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, joined by James.
Making a guest appearance.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pretend there's no camera here and we're like talking on the podcast again.
Yeah, so if you don't already follow, I don't know why you don't realise that we have a podcast. It's called the Running Hub Podcast, which comes out every Friday on all social media, all podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple, and if you follow our Facebook page, we always post a link on Fridays as well. So today we're basically going to talk about one of the topics that we did speak about on the podcast, which is training throughout the winter. So if you want to listen to it on your run, then go and head over there. If not, we're just going to basically try and copy what we said on the podcast for YouTube.
Duplicate the information.
Yeah, just repeat what we said over there. So training through the winter, James, how do you like it? Yes, no?
I much prefer to be investing in the sun, yes. But the winter brings its own challenges, of course, but you can become a lot stronger, fitter, faster, to coin our phrase.
Yeah, there's a kind of a bit to it that kind of makes you stronger, doesn't it, from putting yourself through the wet and the cold and the dark, doesn't it? It brings out that different side to you.
Well, not just that, it's essentially an off-season, races don't happen so much, so it gives you time to capitalise and get some gains that you might not do through the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So winter training, what it actually is not just training through the winter months. People think that's sometimes what it is. If you're new to running, you're like, oh yeah, it's just training through the colder months and through the dark weather. But it's essentially what a lot of athletes would call their off season. So if you follow any big athletes online, then a lot of runners would take time off now. When sort of like footballers off season? The summer. So yeah, it's basically whenever there's like a downtime in performance-based stuff.
Off season, I should say.
Yeah.
So we're in between seasons at the moment, unless of course you're a cross-country specialist. But I think it gives you a perfect opportunity to sort of pick up on those elements you may have missed out before, or that may have lacked due to sort of the intensity of the running, or bits of training that would be detrimental to your running. So sort of your intense strength work or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and exactly that, isn't it? It's a time to have a bit of recovery because there's less races on, to focus on those other things that can make you stronger for the next part of your training, but also then to have a little bit of a break from races. And I think that's something that we don't do as runners often enough, is just take the time, step back a little bit from training. And it's not to say that don't stop training completely, but maybe it's time to have a bit of a shift, mix things up, and just do something different. To
simplify it, you want to get yourself in the best position to be ready to start training again in January, February, wherever that may be for you. And getting yourself ready for training doesn't necessarily be in the fittest shape.
So what should we as runners be doing during the winter, and then we can also talk about what we're going to do personally ourselves as well.
So this year I think it makes it quite simple for everyone that everyone's had their sort of key races around September, October.
Yeah, it doesn't normally happen, does it?
No, so it makes it very, very poignant and very easy to talk about this. So I'd be using the end of October and November very much as a relaxed time, Let your body and your mind recover from the block you've been through. A lot of people have probably just been through almost a 2-year block to get these marathons or big races out of the way, with obviously all the disruption of the race schedule. So yeah, do that. You don't need to listen to someone who tells you you must have 1 week's break or 2 weeks break or 3 weeks break. Let your body tell you when you're ready to run again. And what I suggest is when your body says I'm ready to run again, do it tomorrow, not on that day. Mm-hmm. And then just sort of ease yourself back into it. Nothing hard, nothing intense, just a bit of jogging. And then start sort of reflecting on what you did right and what you did wrong, or what you maybe lacked in the last block. So if what you lacked in the last block was, I don't know, you started the block really well with stretching, but you didn't finish it well, start building your routine back together again. So get your stretching routine going again, get your strength class going, get your cross training going before you think about adding any sort of sessions or intervals back into training.
Yeah, so that's definitely it. Recovery is a good thing to focus on in the winter. I think for other people that maybe haven't raced, then it's an opportunity to kind of build up towards whatever your next block is going to be. As well, in the winter it's a lot harder to go out in the evenings if it's darker and it's colder, so it could be a time that you pivot your training and focus on strength work a little bit more. It's an opportunity to stay indoors in the warm, and also to like James says, do some cross training to build your overall volume, so that when you get back into running training, when the weather gets a bit better or more conducive for your training, you're in a position that you're not starting from nothing, and you can build up upon that quite quickly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we mentioned this in the podcast, that at the end of the day you can't replicate running without running, but you can not have to do a full running schedule at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things, is that as runners have in their head what they think they should be doing, so they feel guilty if they're not doing what they think they should do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
or if they set themselves up too much that they can't do.
Yeah, and you know, like as runners, when you get so stuck into a plan, then to have time off, they feel that's wrong and they're going to lose fitness. Like, if you tell yourself, I'm going to build up for 6 weeks and take a couple of weeks easier over Christmas because I enjoy the time with friends and family, you've built yourself up to allow. So you have to get your mindset right and know that what you're doing is going to have the right kind of stepping stones to the next part.
That kind of brings me on to the other point. I would suggest anyone who's sort of starting their next training block sort of in the November time, actually Christmas works out pretty well, because you've got back into training, you've probably done 5, 6, 7 weeks of training, so actually it's quite ideal to then have a down week again around Christmas before you start again, because you don't want to be like as we just said, you want to be starting training, ready to start training, put yourself in the best position, so you need to be recovered from this sort of block you've done as well, both mentally and physically. And
so for us, in terms of what's going on over winter, it's probably a bit different to what some of our clients are doing. However, for James and I, both of us over the summer, we've had to combat different injuries. And so we're now both at a time that we are using this as like a base phase to then go into the next training phase. So we're building good habits and routines of like getting up early, doing our runs. We're building in the gym sessions, the stretching stuff, and like a routine of trainings that, you know, if we're running X amount of times a week, we're used to that then when the next block intensifies and we're ready, would you say?
We're slowly starting to build sessions in, but they're nothing sort of like race specific right now. They're just sort of to build a lot of it's lactate threshold and sort of efficiency at that sort of tempo pace or threshold pace. We're doing a bit of top end speed work, but nothing too conducive to, I'd say, racing days. And then we're throwing cross country, which I think is, you know, it's just part of a fundamental winter training for me. It's raw racing and it's strong running.
Yeah, no, to be fair, even in the last 4 weeks, I feel stronger already over from what we've just been doing.
Because I've got coaching you.
I have. And also, I think all of that, what you've been talking about, it also helps to bring the confidence then as you kind of layer up your training. So let's talk about actually the challenges that we face during the winter as runners collectively. So one of them's the weather.
I think
it's cold, it's wet.
Wet and cold, I think bottom line is
just get your kit right.
You've got to get your kit right and you've got to get out. There's no real excuse. I mean, if you've got a cold or you're ill, then yeah, cool, stay in. You don't want to be going out and getting worse. But really, other than mentally, it doesn't look nice and it's never that bad.
No, when you're out there and doing it, it's
actually
fine,
the last couple of mornings have been absolutely freezing, but you only have to get half a mile in. You're like, actually, it's a beautiful day. It's crisp, it's cold.
I was warm on my run this morning, so. Yeah, I think with the weather, it's just about getting your right kit so you're warm, and just remembering once you're out there, you're going to enjoy it anyway. So,
I think I'd rather be overheating on a training run, to be honest. Race day is different, but
yeah, and then as well, just like meeting friends, that makes you accountable to them and makes it so much easier. So the dark mornings and nights, this can be a challenge for people. Because of,
I suppose, especially people living a bit more rural. Safety,
I guess, if anything. Like, not necessarily that you're unsafe, but some people find it a little bit more intimidating, yes, or scary, to go out and run in the darker weather.
Once again, meet with friends, good head torch, use the different technologies around you that are available to you.
Yeah, so there's different apps and stuff now, and you can features on your Garmin that you can send people to know that you're running. I had a client who knows there's like one street, there's like this one bit of pathway which is well lit and it's like there's always people around, so she feels safe, so she did her intervals just up there. She said as well it's by like posher houses, she feels like more safe, that she feels people are going to be around.
I even had a client yesterday who's probably intimidated by the idea of faster runners or proper runners as she called them. But she knew she had an interval session yesterday, didn't want to do it in the dark, and she booked onto the local track for the first time. So I think that was a great way of combating it, and she'll probably benefit from that in the summer because she'll actually want to use the track.
Yeah, yeah. I had something else in my head there. That's a good start as well though, that, because it can be intimidating to do that, but once you've got over, it's like when you go to any class on your own, you're like, oh, I don't want to go on my own, but once you've done it once, you feel
the weather forced their hand, and now I think that's going to reap the benefits.
Yeah. Just as well, that like if you genuinely, like you say, live in a bit more of a rural area, for now doing a couple of treadmill sessions isn't going to be the worst thing. It's not going to be,
not for a sort of a general day-to-day run. I wouldn't advise any sessions on a treadmill because it's not really accurate. Or
yeah, but if people like if they had no option, then obviously as coaches we're going to say like, yeah, try and do it out on the roads. But if you have no option, doing something on the treadmill is better than nothing. That's what I would say anyway. So lack of motivation after a big event. So there might be quite a few people that have done a marathon and they're like, oh, I just don't know what to do next.
I think quite simply, if you're motivated or not motivated, you're probably not recovered yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite simple. I mean, if your big event was 3 months ago, then there's a bit more going on. But
there's something else, yeah.
If it's, I don't know, anything less than 6 weeks, don't worry about it. If you're not motivated to go out yet, don't go out yet.
Yeah, I think for that, you sometimes see this with like first timers, because it's like such a build up to one event, and then there's that's gone, and it's like the blues, and you're like, what do I do next? So I think for someone in that position would be to try some different kind of exercise for now, find a different routine. Sometimes it's just about getting back into the habit and doing it again, so making yourself a plan and saying, right, I'm going to go out on these days and this is what I'm doing. And just once you get back into the rhythm and routine of it, it can really help. Or book another race, because some people are very motivated by having a race, and that then forces them to train.
Yeah, or even simpler, you know, talk to your friends and talk to your coach and just start talking running.
Yeah.
And just remember why you enjoy it.
Yeah, remember remember your reason why. And then another one is Christmas. Christmas sometimes can be a bit of a barrier or a hurdle. To some people it's really not. It's just, to other people it's like, it's one day and that's I run on that day anyway because it's Christmas Day park run. But other people with like big families or small young children, Christmas can actually be quite a hectic time, especially if you host a lot. And
I think there's sort of two ways of looking at this. Once again, this year is a little different because everyone's sort of started to train again in October, November. So actually you're probably due a down week, so have a down week. Run when you want to, don't run when you don't want to. There's no point in forcing training for a busy period. Busy doesn't have to be work, busy doesn't have to be training, busy doesn't have to be social, it can be a combination of all of them. If you force your training around that, and then you get to January where we're saying we want to start our training, and you're maybe physically and mentally tired, you're putting yourself into a bad place in January. So actually, if you were just to take the week off, you'd be in a better place by not training than forcing training through and being in a bad place. Now, I'm not advocating, oh, it's busy, I'm going to have a week off, but you kind of see where I'm coming from there.
Yeah, I think it just take a bit more a relaxed approach, isn't it? Yeah. And also, again,
if your race is in January, then yes, you can't have the week off over Christmas, but, you know.
But there will be some people out there that, like, because they've got that race in January, they're like, well, no, Christmas I can make sure that I just make... And as well, actually, some people have a bit more time over Christmas because they're not working.
But then also, I think if you've booked a race in January, you booked that prepared and knowing that you're going to do that for Christmas. So.
Yeah. For me, I like to train over Christmas because it's more festive. You get time to meet up with friends.
Yeah, so I started looking at mine and your plan, for example, yesterday. And the Tuesday before Christmas is 5 days. And I was thinking of giving us an easy week. But actually, I know full well we'll have the whole gang at the track and it'll be a good day.
When's this?
Tuesday. Don't worry about that.
Tuesday before or after?
Before.
Before Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. And probably the Tuesday after as well.
No, we will be away.
No, I'm aware of that. We'll probably do the track on the Wednesday that week.
Oh, okay, here we go, guys. I'm finding out now what I'm doing over Christmas already. But no, it's fine.
Just remember, don't just move one day around. Think of the bigger picture. You can't just move your tempo run back, move your intervals back and move your long run forward and think, oh, I'm really tired this week because you've just done 4 sessions in 5 days or something. Yeah.
I think over Christmas though, it's just about doing stuff that you enjoy doing. So, you know, for you, if that is just meeting up with friends and running in that way, then great. And then, like you say, have a down week and you can pick your training up.
Yeah, we've got weird friends, haven't we? Rather than all go out for a social run together, we'll have to flog ourselves around the track.
Yeah. So how can we kind of said some of this already, but how else can we stay safe as runners throughout winter?
Speak to people, run with people, let people know where you're going. Conditions wise, wear the right kit. If it's snowing, fresh snow is good to run on, it's fine, it's safe. If it snowed 2 or 3 days ago and it's icy out there, then maybe this is where the treadmill does come into its own, or make sure you're wearing sort of trail shoes or going off-road where it's softer and safer.
Running in safer areas, running through the woods in the dark is probably not the best thing to do. And just shift your training around in the winter. For example, a lot of people struggle, say even if you run 3 times a week and you're really struggling to get out during the week because of the dark, you've got 2 days of the weekend to do 2 really good runs over the weekend and fit 1 run in during the week. For now, you can get away with 3 runs, but then you can up your training to 4 when the weather's better. So it's just about, you don't have to stick to, we have this with a lot of clients, is that like we find that sometimes a structure isn't working, and rather than keep trying to fight with that structure, try and work out what you can change to make it better and easier for you.
Make it round to work. Don't concede, but make it work.
But just try and do whatever you need to make yourself feel safe, because that's essentially what it is. You're going to be more than likely safe out there, but it's more about how you feel. So just putting yourself in the best position. It's like reflective kit. It's Black Friday, so there should be loads of offers in the lead up to Christmas. 100%. So put loads of like warm clothes on.
Katie telling us all to buy some new kit.
Your Christmas list as well.
That mean you need a new pair of trainers then?
Pardon?
That mean I'm going to need some new trainers that can be seen in the dark.
You got some? No, you don't run in the dark really anyway.
I ran in the dark last night and this morning.
Barely dark this morning, and you weren't on your own. You're fine. You were yesterday, but you're okay.
Thanks.
You got some new trainers today, so you're all right. So what would be the advantage of keeping training over the winter right now?
Essentially, to coin a phrase of Boris Johnson, keep yourself ahead of the curve. But in a training state rather than COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, we work in sort of like training cycles, but is that some people say, I want to do 1 training cycle and get my race. Like, it just doesn't work like that. That's sometimes what people think, is like you do 1 training cycle and you can get good results from 1 training cycle, but to get long-term results you have to layer upon those training cycles.
Well, in essence, you and I are both on a year-long training plan now for London and Amsterdam marathons respectively, with sort of Paris in the interim and Cambridge even before that. So right now we are building a base. We are getting stronger, fitter, faster. So many times I can throw that in today's video. And basically we want to be in a good place in January to really be sort of starting to hit the meaty sessions. Like, I've told Katie now that come halfway through January and most of February she's in for 6 weeks of like intense training. So she needs to be ready for that.
Looking forward to that. But my marathon is in April in Paris, and I know that if I just started in January and did like a normal training block, I could get by. But I have all of this time that I can utilise now to make myself better. Pressure on yourself.
I think another good way of summarising it is I don't like doing a long run after cross country. Now there's only 5 cross countries throughout the winter. 2 of them are done, and 1 we're away for next week. So there's 2 in the next sort of between now and Paris Marathon. If I'm getting my training done and getting my long runs in the bank, and I'm having a good cross country race on a Saturday, I don't need to do a long run the day after, because I'm not chasing the 12-week or a 16-week plan.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to those shorter long runs after cross country. But just not thinking, I've got 16 weeks till my race. It's just like I've got all of this time, and we genuinely love to train. So for us, it's just about taking each week as it comes, forming each month, and it just helps us get closer towards our goals. And I feel like at the moment we're in a really good position that we're kind of coming back, so we're kind of seeing progress quite quickly. And but although we're still so far away from where we want to be as well,
we want to enjoy training. By enjoying training, we'll be fitter and faster, and by taking the pressure off it, i.e. a 16-week plan going into a 24-week plan, the pressure is off. And as you say, we're already seeing the seeds of growth. We're far from the spring right now, so
so it's all going in the right direction. So running in the winter, with illnesses and colds, and a lot comes up, doesn't it? I mean, I've had a few
We need to put some sort of disclaimer here that we're not doctors and this is not legally binding advice.
yeah, we're talking from our own experience here, and also as well we're from like coaching people. So I've had a few people.
Well, flu-based sort of symptoms that make you want to lay in bed, then lay in bed, don't force yourself out. Once again, you've had the advantage of this long block, so it's not going to hurt to have a few days in bed. Physically cold, the chills and stuff, then yeah, you shouldn't be going out and getting colder. Sniffles, coughs, yeah, go run it out, no problem. If you're struggling to breathe on the run, then different story,
Yeah.
But I don't think you're like one bit sniffly today, I can't go for a run.
I think the main thing is that if like before you head out, if you're not feeling well and you feel like that run's going to make you feel worse, that's when you just need to take a few days off. Like,
about being honest with yourself again and not making
Yeah.
these decisions while laying in bed at 5:30 or 6 in the morning.
Just because you've got a training plan, you feel like you need to hit it, think about, is this going to push you further, or is it actually going to push you back? I've had a few colds in the past where it's literally just like, do you know when you feel like nasally, but you feel everything else is fine, you've just got a blocked nose. I have run through those, but there's some days where you wake up and you feel like you've got a headache and you feel like heavy and like everything's just kind of like telling you not to run. That's when you should just take a couple of days off. Had a client a couple of weeks ago who was feeling a bit coldy but also a bit chesty, and so what we did is we just removed all their runs from their plan, and they just did all of our Running Hub indoor classes. So then as well, they had the flexibility to stop if they were indoors and they felt like it was becoming too much on their chest. Yeah, I thought you were telling me to press pause then. But yeah, if they needed to, they could just come away from the class. They're at home. It's not really much of an effort to kind of...
Perfect.
Yeah. And then over the weekend, they felt better for it, and then were able to do 2 quality runs at the weekend. So I think it's just about kind of, like James said, being honest with yourself and kind of really, like, do you need to push yourself through that? Because if you miss one run, that's fine. But if you miss lots more runs because you've run on an illness, that's when it doesn't become fine.
Think of the long game.
Yeah, and also what the benefit is, if James and I of having this longer training block, is that if we do get unwell or need to miss a couple, it's okay. No. We have got this longer training block to play with, so
that's it.
Yeah, all good.
I won't be letting you wimp out a run through a sniffle anyway.
I'm trying not to. I do try and wimp out runs, but I don't think I'd use an illness as an excuse, just because I don't want to do it. So you did touch on it earlier about running in different types of weather, and we have had this previously with like March time. We seem to get a lot of snow in like race season. So let's talk about when you should and shouldn't run in bad weather.
Well, first of all, with the snow and the frost and the ice, think about the benefits versus the cons, I guess. So if it's a session day and it's an icy day and it's going to be dangerous to do a session, then don't risk doing a session to, once again, miss more runs because you're injured. So back to that 1v multiple. So if it just has to be an easy run because you can do an easy run but you can't do a session, then cool, do an easy run, Once again, no pressure on the block, plenty of time to do it. If it's been snowing and icy and it's been there for a few days, you know what this country's like, then yes, the treadmill does come into play. Once again, weigh it up, the benefits versus the risks. I think that's the simplest thing to do. And as we mentioned earlier, when it comes to rain and cold, just layer up correctly or don't layer up correctly. I think one of the big mistakes we make, especially sort of around February time, it tends to be wetter. It tends to be wet but not cold. So if you've got a session, wear all your layers for warming up, but you're not going to need to wear a rain jacket and a hoodie and a t-shirt for your session because it might still be 10, 12 degrees, even though it's wet. And actually, skin's waterproof, so strip down to a vest, go for it.
A vest in February? Well, you're hardcore. But yeah, and as well, like water, clothes that retain the wet.
Yeah, and it's going to be cold.
And if you've got loads of clothes, you're going to feel heavier. It's going to stick to your skin and actually make you colder. But I think training in some of these tough weather conditions helps build that mental resilience as well for race day.
I don't really like many of the cliche sayings and stuff, but the winter miles, summer smiles and all that. I think there's a...
I don't think I've heard that one before. Yeah. What was that? Winter miles,
summer smiles.
Summer smiles.
Love that one.
Yeah, I think you're right there with the ice. It's not worth risking it. at all. As well, we have a lot of clients that will like preempt the week, especially during the summer. I know this is kind of applicable but kind of not, but in the summer, do you know when like we have like a heat wave, people switch their week around. So for example, if there is like a snowstorm forecast, you can change your week around to try and accommodate that best, and just about shifting stuff if the weather isn't bad. Just because you miss a session because of the like bad weather, it's like, how can you look at your week?
Look at the forecast, speak to your coach and plan your week. I mean, that's the best thing to do, but
yeah,
obviously, you know, this is British weather and British forecasting, so take it all with a pinch of salt.
I think as well, sometimes on things that we've done on like an icy day, go and run on grass. And maybe it'll be harder for intervals and things like that, but yeah, it's just about working around, isn't it? At this
the perfect sort of thing for that is, say you've got, I don't know, 400 metres or 90-second reps, 2-minute reps. Track's going to be icy, the road's going to be icy. Boundary of a cricket pitch, perfect. Put your cross-country spikes on, put your trail shoes on. Yeah, you're not going to hit the same pace, but if you're going to hit the effort, then spot on.
That's all it is.
It's maybe
it's more
not
about hitting the right training zone, isn't it?
Yeah, it might not tick the exact box of the session you want, but it's going to be near as damn it, and that's all we can look for at this point.
I think that's a lot of the themes that we've been speaking about in this, is that actually it's just about trying to make the best of the situation that you are given on each day, and just training to the best of your ability and doing.
But then also, don't go away from watching this thinking, oh God, I'm going to have to make all these decisions, because 99.9% of the time you're going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah. So any top tips to round up this video for training during the winter?
Don't be a pussy, get out the door, it's a lot worse than you think. It's not as bad as you think.
Oh, you just said that.
It's true, we have to tell ourselves that, don't we?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to wimp out on some things than not. But it's...
No run is a bad run or a regrettable run once you're out there.
No, true. And yeah, just adapt and overcome, as we like to say. And what you do now is going to help in the future. Sometimes it's hard to see long term those results that you're going to get, but just know that what you're going to do now is going to help future you, but also make your routine enjoyable and have fun, because that's why we have got to a position that we are, because it's sustainable because we like and love what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This is all for tomorrow's James.
Yeah, so good luck with training throughout the winter. Let us know what you're doing. As we said, we'll be doing marathons in the spring, so we are documenting our journey, and I will pin down James later on this week to talk a little bit more about what our training is going to look like up into the spring, and carry on some of our...
You just want to find out what you're doing, don't you?
Yeah, I just want an insight to know what I'm doing, and a bit of an insight into our trainings, and follow us along on our journey. So thanks for watching. If you'd like any more information about the Running Hub or our coaching, just have a look in the description box below, and we'll see you soon in the next one.